Hi, welcome to Talking Tech. I'm Caroline Hill, your host. Today we are doing a product demo and I'm talking to Paul Wilson, who is Director of Customer Success at Aiden Technologies. Hi, Paul.
Good to meet you. How's it going?
Yeah, good to see you, Paul. So Aiden Technologies, for people who aren't familiar, they provide automated endpoint management solutions for Microsoft Windows, or put another way, you are experts in solving Microsoft Windows headaches, but it's more than that. So to introduce Paul, so Paul was previously Vice President of System Integration and End User Services at Brookfield Asset Management, where he was a customer of Aiden, which is great because you have experience of it from a customer perspective. Before that, he was Director of Service Management, the Service Management Group at Capgemini. So today we're going to be, Paul is going to be racing through some demos. We're trying to make this very concise in light of making this as sort of easy to consume as possible. That's the objective with these product demos that we're doing. So Paul, so Aiden, you're around making endpoint management more efficient, less disruptive, creating an audit trail. Tell me in your own words and in a bit more detail what the overarching value prop is of the Aiden solution.
Sure. So, thanks for the introduction, by the way. The overarching value prop for the Aiden solution is, in a nutshell, we're a security-focused automation solution. We're part software, part managed service. And in business terms, for our legal customers, we remove the workload required from an organization, from that daily, weekly, monthly grind requirement to not just build new computers with everything that their users require, but also to keep that IT environment up to date, compliant, including the operating system, driver BIOS, third-party apps, any custom updates rather, or custom application assignments. That's kind of what we do. Okay. There are so many organizations all having to perform the same repetitive work month after month, and one of our co-founders said, well, I don't understand why every IT organization for every company across the world is having to repeatedly do this work. So we try to extract all of that work for our customers. Using our solution, customers are not only able to see exactly how their environment looks today and what's changed recently, but perhaps more importantly, what still needs to happen, what work is outstanding. And then we provide them, of course, the mechanism to remediate that.
Okay. Now I know you're going to do a demo, but I just I'm learning all the time, to be honest with you. But so you maybe listeners will know this, but you're not trying to replace traditional endpoint solutions like Microsoft Intune. You're augmenting it, right? You're probably coming into that yourself.
That's absolutely right, and that's kind of that monthly workload that I was talking about a moment ago. Every IT organization has to do this significant lift of effort, repackaging those, not just the pesky desktop apps, the 7-zips and the Teams and the Zooms of the world, but, our legal customers have to do the more complicated business critical apps like, the iManagers and the Terras and the NetNuts. So all of that is a huge amount of effort to keep on top of on a monthly basis. We don't mind which deployment tool you use. All we're trying to do is help you perform all of that work, that effort that's required every week, every month. We extract that so you don't need to do it anymore.
Okay, so you're right there through the whole endpoint lifecycle management process. Yeah. Do you want to demo? Do you want to do a quick demo of your solution?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay, so I'm going to try and show a number of things really, really quickly in this demo. I'm going to show you this, which is our reporting tool. It's actually much more than a reporting tool now. We use this to build a customer's policy with all of those rules around everything they want and don't want in their environment, the prerequisites, the dependencies, all of that kind of good stuff. But before we get into this, what I'm going to try and show you is we've got a couple of mechanisms that I'm going to demo really quickly on how we build an endpoint. So right at the beginning of that life cycle you were mentioning, Caroline, I've got two different versions here. I'm going to pick this one off first. This helps our customers. We call it full provisioning. It's essentially using the Microsoft Intune autopilot mechanism to build a machine. But one of the problems that a lot of our customers have seen as they try and move away from SCCM, because Microsoft is pushing everyone towards Intune now, is Intune doesn't do everything that SCCM used to have the capability of doing, which is laying down everything that the end user requires. It's good at maybe putting 2 or 3 applications on, but not that full provisioning, that full loadout, that full build out of everything that a user needs. And what our system does is it adds all of that additional thing. So imagine now you don't have to have an endpoint shipped to your IT team. The IT team are giving it the white glove treatment. They're putting on the OS, then installing all of those separate third-party applications, including the complicated stuff like your iManagers and Militaras, making sure you've got the right policy for iManager, the right configuration for NetDocs. Everything is being done by Aiden here. So instead now, what an organization can do is they can ship an endpoint out to anyone, anywhere, at their home office, whatever. The user does what I just did. They log in, they get that beautiful kind of autopilot experience. And they don't have to do anything else. The moment that the device preparation stage is complete and you get into device setup, our process takes over. So instead of being very limited, the way autopilot limits an organization today to how many applications they can install, ours will do everything. All of the updates, BIOS, firmware, drivers, operating system, all of the third-party apps, all of the configuration of those third-party apps, language packs, keyboard layout, everything is going to be laid down in a single process. Machine reboots and it's ready for the user to log into, fully provisioned.
That must really help with this in this day and age of hybrid working, because we're never going to be back to the office, are we? You know, some people are back in the office some of the time, but actually people are living further afield, so it must be super helpful from that perspective.
Absolutely, it's one of the reasons we created it. This other mechanism I'm not going to show you right now. It's our mechanism to build an endpoint from absolute bare metal. There's nothing on it. There's no operating system. And our customers find this very helpful in terms of, it's an insurance policy against ransomware. So you can rebuild a device that maybe has been infected by some sort of malware, blow the whole machine away, and it rebuilds that again, not just the OS, but all of those other things that I mentioned earlier. And we're even working on a mechanism for this to be able to work over the internet. So you're going to be able to build a machine that has nothing on it, boot straight across the internet, and build out everything that's required. That's coming real soon.
Awesome. That's awesome. Do you think it's a busy market, endpoint management? Would you say that this would be recognized as a real USP?
Absolutely. That ability to recover from ransomware is definitely one of our core USPs at the moment. The other thing that hopefully, if we get time in this, is I'll show you something called Continue Before Logon, which is our mechanism to help our customers make sure that they're patching all of those things that their end users require. Maybe their end users don't ever close those applications. So it becomes really hard as an IT administrator to make sure those updates are getting pushed out, because the traditional tools like SCCM or Intune or Manage Engine, they ultimately fail after so many attempts. Our solution is slightly different, and it's a key unique selling point for us to be able to make sure those kinds of patches get pushed in without interrupting the end user. Because let's face it, lawyers' time is very expensive. They don't like to be interrupted. So we want to make sure that our mechanisms don't interrupt those end users.
Yeah, okay. And do you want to show me, so a lot of it is around time saving and lack of interruption, but you've also got the dashboard, haven't you? And perhaps we could have a little bit of a closer look in terms of how you've got something called a desired state policy. Perhaps you could sort of tell me a little bit more about that as well.
That's right. So this is our reporting tool. This is Aiden Vision, and I'll talk in a couple of moments about what this actually represents. But it's more than just a reporting tool now. We've tried to make it a bit of a one-stop shop. So you can come in here, you can see all of our support documentation, but most importantly, you can see this thing called the policy editor. Now, the policy, this is what drives all of our process. We call it the desired state policy. This is where we capture a customer's rules around everything they want, everything they don't want, the order of installation, prerequisites, dependencies, where a particular operating system is needed, where it's not needed. All of those rules are captured in this policy. So we capture everything from the operating system and when it's appropriate to put it on a particular type of machine, all of those frameworks, drivers and firmware, but then we kind of get down to the meat and potatoes, the applications themselves. I just want to show, a quick example of how easy it is to understand the applicability rules for your environment. And, as a customer, this changed things for me because suddenly that conversation with my CISO and my compliance people and my auditor about all of the rules, they were in a document. I could understand it. It was in natural language English. So those conversations become a lot easier. So here you can see how easy it is to understand when Zoom Workplace should be installed. It's going to go on any workstation. Workstation means something different. It's a key word to us. So that means something that's a laptop or desktop. It means it's not going to be installed if it's a server. It's also not going to get installed if it's a VDI. And it's not going to be installed on these particular, we call them system configurations. Customers may know them as something different, like a persona. So, for example, offboarding is a persona that we set up as standard rather. So when a customer wants to sunset a particular laptop or device, they put it into the offboarding persona, and that strips all of the software. So you were talking about lifecycle earlier. So we not only build them, we help you sunset them as well. But that's the applicability rule for Zoom. What I can show you really quickly is not only can we change the applicability of where Zoom's needed by using this very simple interface about, it's only going to go onto this type of machine or in this circumstance or on this operating system or this persona. We can change all of this applicability rule very, very swiftly. But more than that, we can change the configuration of this. So you can see in this little demo environment, we use Microsoft SSO in our organization. So I'm enforcing the SSO URL. I'm enforcing the logon domain. And I can enforce all sorts of rules right into a customer's policy here. Don't use Facebook credentials as a logon mechanism for Zoom. That's probably something you want to disable. You can do all of that. But we can get really nitty-gritty on how we do this for customers. We've even got mechanisms now where we can say, something that might be meaningful to a legal organization would be, okay, we want to put in the latest update for Windows, Paul, but we found that there's a particular problem in this. There's a particular KB as part of this Microsoft update that breaks Latera. So can we still update Windows but avoid that one thing? We give our customers the ability to do that. We can say, hey, let's get really granular here. Let's say this KB, we know it's breaking Latera, so we're going to add a quick rule on that, and we're going to say, we don't want to skip it on all of our endpoints. We only want to skip it maybe because we know it's breaking Latera. So in here, I can say, avoid that one update on any machine that has Latera installed, but update everything else because we don't want any of those vulnerabilities in our environment. And anything that doesn't have Latera, we want the whole package. But we can be very, very granular in how much configuration we build into a customer's policy. You don't have to worry about it ever again. This policy is going to get enforced every time they run our remediation software. So that's a quick skim over the policy.
Oh, yeah, sorry, carry on. I was going to say we'd go through remediation, but yeah, carry on.
Yeah. A quick word on remediation then.
Yeah.
This, and there's so much to show in this reporting tool, it's not possible in the time we have, but just very quickly, what you're looking at here is compliance over time of your entire environment. We have lots of other views in here, like product compliance, that will show every single applicable installation in your environment and whether it's compliant with your policy or not. But we'll go into that in a more full-fledged demo. What I really want to show you ever so quickly is I'm going to zoom right into one particular computer here. And this is the view of compliance of this particular computer over time. You can see at a glance, there's 18 things wrong with this computer. There's 11 things that are compliant. There's 18 things that aren't. If I start to scroll down here, you can see there's some critical things wrong with this PC at the moment, which is why it's showing as a critical action required. I've got 3 packages that are vulnerable to NIST-defined vulnerabilities. We ingest the NIST database and we surface it for our customers where it's applicable in their environment. But I've got all these other things that are wrong with this particular laptop. I can also at a glance see what's right with it. But it's not only important to surface, well, what's wrong with this laptop? What is the work that we need to do? You actually need to perform that work. So let me show you that real quickly as well. here's that process for building a PC, by the way, that's already kicked off. So Autopilot has now passed the process over to Aiden. Aiden is now building out everything that's required, the full build out, including the latest updates to Windows and so on, including Windows configuration. What power layout do you want? What desktop background do you want? All of that stuff is added in there. Let me pull up that machine that we were just looking at in the reporting tool. This is that endpoint. And typically, if you run our solution, you'd run it at scale, en masse, and you'd trigger it from your deployment tool, such as Intune. I can't show you that because it runs silent in the background. We don't want your end users getting interrupted, right? What I'm going to show you here is we built a GUI, and the use case for this really is, I don't know, maybe someone in the service desk wants to install a particular update straight away because you can't wait. You can do that using a GUI. But everything I trigger here on this one machine, you can trigger at scale across your entire environment. And here you can see everything that reporting tool was just saying on this computer. It's the same computer. You can see those critical jobs. You can see the software that's going to get installed for the first time. You can see the updates. They're not critical because there's no vulnerability, but it's still work we've got to do. You can see our little Ghostbusters logo here. We've found some bloatware that we want to remove. Because remember, applying a policy isn't just about making sure things are up to date. It's stripping things off that shouldn't be there, or applying updates or policies such as, well, maybe it's okay, Caroline, for you to have iTunes installed, but it's not okay for that to be out of date, and it's not okay for the Bonjour services to be enabled. So we give you the mechanisms to apply policy even to optional packages, as well as the things that you're mandating in your environment. I also have the ability to change the role of a PC. So we built this one as a standard, but maybe we want to hit lawyer. If I do that, it's going to change the loadout here, and it's going to install a bunch of legal specific apps. But I just want to show you the remediation process running. So I'm just going to hit the apply critical. Sorry, I'm going to hit the apply all button. That's going to enforce that compliance from the policy. So it's made a comparison, the state of the endpoint versus the policy. This is all the work that's required. I've hit go do it all. So it's now going to do it all. And you can see in one of the tabs up here, there's a bunch of tasks. It's already started. You can actually scroll down here and see everything else that was run on this machine over history. So you've got a full audit trail of any change we ever implemented on this machine, even from the point it was built. But this is an intelligent task sequence. It's not just alphabetized. All of this is in the right order of installation. All of that logic around installing Office before Adobe so everyone gets the print to PDF button in the right place. And your iManage configuration is going to be right because you've got Office installed first. All of that logic has been worked out for our customers over time. If you need to tweak it, of course, we can tweak it. But my point as well would be, this is a single stack of work. So there's certain things in here that would typically in other tools might require an immediate reboot. Removing Java, that requires a reboot. We don't interrupt the user with multiple reboots. We stack the whole task list. We deliver all of this work in one go, including the latest updates to Office and Windows, prior to providing a call back to the customer's deployment tool to say, okay, now you can go do a reboot. And that way we're not interrupting user multiple times.
I get the logic. I get the logic. Does that cause issues doing sort of consolidating from a time perspective and everything perspective? Does it cause issues consolidating into a single reboot or not?
No, not at all. If anything, the feedback from our customers is that they prefer it this way because it interrupts the users far less. Yeah. And because it hooks into their existing deployment tool, and Intune has some great control now over when a user gets interrupted. And you can provide the user with lots of choices about, we're not going to reboot the machine right now because maybe you're in court. So you get the opportunity to defer that reboot multiple times, and then you'll get a 24-hour countdown. Most organizations do now enforce that reboot once a month. Yeah. And there's lots of good reasons to do that. But they can allow the user to perhaps do it more at their convenience so that they're not getting interrupted in their workflow. But no, it doesn't cause any problems. Yeah. And I think maybe once in the last 2 years, we found one package that had to cause multiple reboots, but that was only as a machine was getting built rather than being updated in this way.
Yeah. Okay. And then if something goes wrong with an update, is it easy to roll it back?
So each one of these packages, and this is where the managed service portion of our solution comes into play. each one of these packages is created by our team here. So all of those days of you creating as a customer, creating your own, having to create your own packages, or maybe get a third party to do it, and you having to pay each time. Our team builds all of these packages for all of our customers. We've built all of that logic into each one, and each one comes with its own rollback. Each one comes with its own removal package. So in the very, very rare event that we find an issue with one of the packages that we've created, we have the tools and mechanisms to be able to recover from it very quickly. I can't think in the last 2 years of a single instance where that's occurred. The only thing that occasionally could occur is if a customer is pushing an application and they've perhaps provided inaccurate rules around how many people they want to deploy it to. So we've had to recover and roll back some of those, but it's not typically as a technical issue to do with the package itself.
Okay. We're tight on time. Is there anything that you haven't shown me that you're desperate to show me?
There is one. I really want to show you this, which is a pretty cool piece of technology. We believe this is called Continue Before Logon. Right. It's our mechanism to help our customers get around that process when their users, they're really busy. They keep these applications open all the time. And in a legal organization, maybe this would be iManage, maybe it would be Word or Adobe, whatever. They refuse to close it. And the options for an IT organization is then, well, we've got to ask politely, in which case we get a very low uptake, or we do a forced close, which could cause people to lose work. And you really don't want that to happen to your legal representatives in your organization. It really upsets people. So this is a mechanism whereby we built some hooks into the reboot process. So things that don't ever get closed, we can tag them and we can say, okay, when this endpoint finally gets rebooted, and maybe that happens at the weekend, maybe it happens at that point that Windows gets updated and the user is forced to ultimately perform a reboot. We tag those applications. Everything else got installed silently in the background. Didn't enforce the user to do anything. We didn't say, hey, you've got to close this app. We didn't negotiate. We didn't cause them to lose any work. Just when they reboot the next time, as the machine comes up, we've tagged those couple of applications that they left open. We push the update as the machine boots up. And I'm showing you a bit behind the wizard's curtain here. This wouldn't be the screen that an end user would see. They would see the nice kind of cumulative Windows update screen saying, hey, updating application 1 of 2, updating application 2 of 2, done. And then the user can log in again. And when they do, now they're fully compliant. Because those last couple of things we couldn't do because they kept them open, we were able to update as the machine came up. And that's what this is doing right now. You can see AidenBot has launched as part of that boot sequence. It's going to install those couple of applications, and then they're going to be up to date the minute the user logs on.
Yeah. I've seen the front of the update. It reminds me a little bit of the Apple. I mean, I'm a lawyer by background, and I'm probably an offender, Paul, I have to tell you. But so that makes a lot of sense. We're at time. I found that really helpful. Thank you. And we've whizzed through a lot of stuff. I know this isn't. You've done a great job. This isn't the easiest software to demo. So I think that was really clear. And obviously we'll be sharing details if anyone wants to follow up further. But thank you so much for making the time to speak with me, Paul. It's been really interesting.
You're very welcome. Thanks for the opportunity.